Welcome to In the Loop with Laura. Today I am very excited to have my friend Jim Holderread with me on the show. Jim goes to church with us, and I'm so glad to have you here. He is an artist in many ways, as well as in textiles with crochet. So welcome. Thank you for coming.
Nice to be here.
And we go to church with you in Plymouth.
Correct.
But your mom grew up in North Liberty. Did you grow up in Plymouth?
I grew up out by the Swan Lake Golfers area.
Right, which is where you live now.
Mm-hmm.
And before we get into how you get started with textiles, tell us what you do now.
I am a dog groomer in Plymouth. We own a business in Plymouth, and been doing grooming for about 35 years now. And just love working with the dogs. We also do a boarding out in our home.
Mm-hmm.
And it makes it very nice for the dogs because it's more like they are at home and they're not just in a kennel and, being left there. So our clients really enjoy that the dogs are in home and they can spend time with us and be part of our family.
Yeah, I can see that would be a big boon to any pet lover.
Right.
And you personally have what kind of animals?
We have 3 standard poodles. We used to raise standard poodles, but we no longer do that. And then we also have a Shih Tzu that last year was abandoned at our grooming shop. Somebody brought it in to get it groomed. It was in bad shape and had to be completely shaved down. And they gave us all false information. And so we ended up adopting it. And so we have him part of our family now also.
Does he get along with the poodles?
He does, and it's funny because he thinks he's one of the big dogs.
I was going to ask you, does he think he's a poodle, or is he convinced the poodles that they're Shih Tzus?
He keeps them all in line.
We all have someone like that in our life.
Right.
So tell me about textiles. I know guys who crochet, I know guys who knit, I know guys who needlepoint. They're not always eager to share it, but you obviously have a wealth of things that you've done, and you shared with me before the show that your mom made sure that you and your brother knew how to
do everything. Now she did not crochet herself, but she taught us how to clean house. She taught us how to wash dishes properly, do sewing.
Mothers,
everything.
Listen to
everything.
Jim. Mothers
and,
do this.
So I can do it all. So I always tell my wife, if ever anything happens, I'll be okay because I can do it. And I enjoy it. I do a lot of cooking too now, since I've started eating a healthier lifestyle.
Diet.
So, right.
Well, and that's important. Obviously, it makes you a complete person. Mm-hmm. You're aware of so many things, but then also you can get along if anything were to happen to her. You can take care of her and the house.
Right.
And it goes the same way. Women should know how to do minor fixes and how to, do bookwork and balance the checkbook. It just makes for a healthy person in so many ways.
Right.
Speaking of healthy people, I want to brag on you a little bit. I am really proud of Jim. He has, tell you your story.
4.5 years ago, I found out I was high blood pressure, very high. And then 2 weeks after that, I found out I was type 2 diabetic. And that really scared me, and I was very depressed right at first, just the word being a diabetic, I thought of all the things, and I was really depressed for about 2 weeks, and finally I just decided that I don't have to stay like this. So I got online, and I really educated myself on a lot of stuff, and I started totally eating different. I started exercising, even though I couldn't do much at first because I was so big. And but I started, and I started making changes and stuff. And as I continued to lose weight, my blood pressure got better, my diabetes got better. And as of now, I've lost 160 pounds in 4.5 years.
That's fantastic.
And I'm off of all medications. I'm no longer high blood pressure or diabetic. and exercise a lot. My wife and I this summer rode our tandem a lot. We came down here to Rochester and done the trail 3 different times. We rode from Rochester to Peru and back. Takes about a 4-hour drive on the bike. And altogether, since April to November, we had to quit when it got too cold, even though we were putting layers on. I think the last day we rode, it was like the wind chill was 19, and we had 4 layers on, and we rode 18 miles that last day, and we rode 1,018 miles altogether in that time period.
1,018. So, that 18 took you over.
I just feel great. I'm happy with myself now. I really actually like myself, and I feel like a human being again, to where before I didn't so much. I was ashamed of the way I looked and everything, and so it's been a good move, everything.
Well, I know I've heard you also share at church how that has gone hand in hand also with spiritual healing. And
right. I had to go through a lot of that and let go of some relationships even that was pulling me down and stuff. And I really believe a healthier lifestyle does include not only our physical bodies, but our mind and our soul. Spiritually and everything, and I'm actually going to be starting a group at church for people that want to start living a healthier lifestyle. And it's going to be open. It's not going to be just for the church.
For the church, excellent.
And so I have quite a few people that is interested. I've learned a lot. In April, I started meeting with a nutritionist, and I've lost half of that weight since April. And so it's really exciting to be able to share with others. And I always say, if I've done it, anybody can. Because, I had went through a lot in my life, and happy with where I'm at now.
It's a very thankful thing to God.
Still have about 40 more to go. But I'll get there, I promise.
Yep, little by little.
Right.
Well, tell me how you first learned. You said your mom did not crochet.
She did not.
But your grandma did.
My Grandma Holderread did, but she did like doilies and that type of stuff with the small stuff. I never seen her use like the heavier yarn or anything like that. She made doilies. She made her own dish rags. She was very old-fashioned, and so she did a lot of things. She had a wringer washer. She never had an automatic washer. She made all of her own clothes and all sorts of stuff like that. So she was very old-fashioned. Both of my grandmas lived to be 102 years old.
Oh, my goodness.
And so that was one of the reasons, too, why I wanted to get healthy, because I thought, well, I know I can't live to be 204, but I'm going to shoot for that 104. So that's my goal, to make it that age. So
did that grandma teach you to sew? Because you mentioned as well that you noticed her as your mom.
No, my mom taught me how to sew, and I've made clothes. Matter of fact, the tie I had on at church yesterday, I made that tie.
Oh, I wish
Sandy had her dress designer made, and there was some material left over, and so I thought, I'm going to get online and see if I can find a tie pattern.
Well, that's tricky because it needs to be thin enough to make the knot.
Right.
Yeah.
But it was all laid out online. It's amazing what you can find online nowadays.
A lot of great
I
things.
printed it out and went from there.
Okay.
And
How did you learn how to crochet then?
I learned how to crochet, not by choice, okay? I used to work in a factory, and the department I happened to be in was all women. There was actually about 5 or 6 women that I would take break with every day, and I was the only guy. And every break period and their lunch period, they would sit and crochet. And they kept on saying, Jim, you need to start crocheting with us. And I'd say, no. And they keep on bugging me. And I'd say, no, I'm not going to learn how to crochet. Well, finally, one day...
You would probably just sit there and...
I didn't have anything to do but listen, hear them talk, and watch them crochet. And anyway, this one lady said to me, that day, she says, Jim, she says, tomorrow, I am bringing you in a hook, and I'm bringing in some yarn, and you're going to learn how to crochet. And she says, I'm the one that's going to teach you because we're both left-handed.
I was going to say, that was very...
And so the next day, she brought in yarn, and she started showing me how to make chains. And I made chains that stretched for miles, I think, to begin with. And so then she started teaching me how to turn around and start going back on the chain. And so that's how I got started. And I looked. I think we eventually threw the first thing I made, but it was a big Afghan.
Wow, the first thing was a big Afghan.
Yeah, that was the first thing I made.
Was it all single crochet?
No, it was the zigzag pattern.
Oh, I love the zigzag pattern.
And so it was quite interesting. And then I just started doing more and more when our girls were little. I made them Barbie doll clothes and stuff like that, and I'd make our dog sweaters and everything. And the really unique thing about me is I don't go by any patterns.
I was going to ask you.
I just look at something and I just
decide what you want to do and do it. But it really got its hooks into you, didn't it?
That it did. That it did. So, but you started right away with the zigzag, that single crochet with gaps, right? That makes the zigzag. And she taught you double crochet and treble crochet and half double right away. And you just went for it. Yeah. There was some things that I did kind of look at and figure out, but as far as going by a pattern, the whole pattern, no.
You've never done that?
I've never done that.
Okay.
No, I just never have. Yeah.
Jim goes to church with me up in Plymouth. And I first recognized his crocheted skill as he is very talented. He sings on the worship team, and he will wear some of his crocheted scarves proudly, walk around, and I hope people make comments on them because they're just great. This is a lovely blue. It looks great on you.
Thank you.
And this one is it a double crochet? Triple?
Yes.
Double crochet?
Double.
And he even does the different design elements are so nice. This is just a perfect fringe. He's got pom-poms that he's made. But we're going to start out with talking about your oldest item that you brought in. Can you tell us about this?
Okay. The cream scarf is a scarf that I had actually made for my mom when she was still alive, and she just loved some of the stuff I did, and she goes, I wish you would make me a scarf. So that was one of the first items I made for her, was that scarf, and she wore it proudly and said that my son makes this, and so she was very happy with it.
And you had already made a couple other things. The Afghan you had said previously was
Correct.
Your first thing. Had you made many other things before you made this?
Oh yes, yeah. Like I said, I had made scarves for my daughters and made them little sweaters and stuff when they were little, and Barbie clothes and sweaters for our dogs and all sorts of different things that I just did. And I used to make some like craft things too. I would take like a pop can and I would crochet around a pop can and then make little arms and legs for them and stuff them with the cotton field stuff and little hats and stuff, and they could use them for banks. And then I used to also crochet around like the pop plastic things that hold the six-pack together, cut them out and crochet around them and make different like little door hangers and stuff. And
that would be the base underneath
things,
it.
Stuff like that.
Interesting.
So
Very creative mind. And this is another item that you made for your mother.
Right. I made this when my mom was ill. It's a lap robe. Throw for her, and she battled cancer for quite a few years, and she passed away in '84. She was only 57.
Oh, how awful.
And so after she passed away, I got it back, and it's one of the things that I really treasure, these two items, because they were my mom's.
And she wore them and she loved them.
Yep, she did.
Oh, that's lovely. And it has a really nice little ruffle edge. I think maybe we should show both of these a little closer up. Now, Jim, did you have a pattern for this?
No, I do not go by patterns.
He never goes by patterns.
Never go by patterns.
So do you get inspired by a yarn, or you just have a picture in your mind of what the thing's going to look like and
I
you
usually
make it?
I usually pick out a yarn first that I want to do, and then sometimes I just kind of play around with what type of stitch I want to do, whether I want to do, I'm not sure what even the proper technique it's called, whether to catch both the strands or just this particular one gives it the ripple look.
The front of the leg or the back of the leg where you insert
correct.
the hook.
And I catch the back of the leg to do that.
That creates the ridges
Correct.
rather than
Correct.
this one, where you can see the stitches going across, but you don't have the layered effect that you can see here with the cream yarn. And here, did someone show you how to do a ruffled effect?
That's just another thing I played with and designed. I've made a lot of baby blankets. As a matter of fact, all of our, I can't say all, the last 2 grandsons that were born last year, I haven't got their blankets done yet, but the others I've all made baby blankets for them when they were born. And so I've done a lot of baby blankets. I've done a lot for other people when they're expecting, and making outfits and stuff.
Here's another scarf.
I'd made this for our youngest daughter when she was just a little toddler, basically. You can see it's pretty narrow and not very long.
Right, but it would be perfect
perfect for a toddler.
Right, a 3-year-old. And it might be hard to see on the screen. You can see a little bit of a shimmer. This yarn, actually the cream yarn, also has a little bit of a shimmer, which is just enough to make it a little feminine.
Right.
So you said it was later that you started to design for yourself?
Correct.
And what were some of the challenges that you had in designing for yourself?
Well, one of the things that was a challenge, I guess, is just to do it. Because scarves are really in and everything, but many men will wear like a crocheted scarf or a knitted scarf.
Like the one that you have on now?
Right, but when they then take their coat off, they take their scarf off. And so I wanted to kind of set a new fashion statement for men, and so I started crocheting scarves, and this is actually...
Take a look at some of these up here, please.
And this one here is actually the first one I made.
I think I've seen you wear that one at church.
I wanted it to be very bold and very masculine. And that was one of the first ones that I made for myself that I didn't take off when I took my coat off. And so it's very big, bulky. It's a very heavy yarn. And so that was the first one I made when I started doing that. And I've made, several cents now for myself and stuff.
So some of the things you thought about were colors and the actual texture, because this is a thick yarn, and yet with the holes, perhaps it's still something that you could wear indoors and not necessarily outdoors.
That one is still a very hot one to wear.
Yeah, it's a thick
It's got to be pretty cold when you leave that on.
Put that one on. And you obviously made it a nice, large man
very
size.
Long. Yeah.
Too, but that is just lovely. And it's something that I know all of the viewers think about as well. Sometimes we talk to the men folk in our life and say, I would like to knit you a pair of socks. And he says, great, as long as it's gray. Oh.
Right.
I think, I get to knit on that for a long, long time with 10,000 stitches. It's so boring. So it's something we all think about. Can we put in a shot of color?
Right. And I like this one too because I can wear it with brown, I can wear it with tan. It's got a little bit of black in it, so I can wear it with like a black sweater even, or a black shirt.
And then sometimes you can also, if you're trying to think of what to give a man in your life, you can look at his coat and just try to make it match his coat if he's not going to wear it inside.
Exactly.
And I do that often too, especially if I don't know the person really well. You think, I don't know what they like. Well,
correct.
What color is their coat? So what other, tell me about this scarf.
This one here, I actually have a gray sweater that used to fit me. It does not fit me any longer. Actually, I had to do some closet cleaning earlier this fall.
That's exciting.
When I was done, I had 68 empty hangers. And so that day was quite emotional for me because
a lot of things to go through.
I wasn't expecting all those emotions, but so the gray sweater don't fit me anymore, but I can still wear it with a black or anything. It's kind of a charcoal gray, so it's nice. And
yet, it's nice that a scarf will always fit.
Right.
So you don't have to clear those out, and that's true with a lot of accessories. And
this
something to put on next Christmas list is a gray sweater.
Right. This is basically the same type of yarn as what the one we just showed you was, but this is a much tighter stitch, so it's not you can't get your fingers through it like you can that other one is easy.
Right, so this was a larger hook size?
Yes.
And I also like what you did with this one. Most of these other ones you're going back and forth in creating the scarf.
I
and
did.
This one, he's got the gray, which is just a very kind of casual, almost a pinstripe feel. And yet he did it lengthwise.
I did. That was the first one that I've ever done like that.
I like it.
And I wanted to get that pinstripe type of look to it. And so in order to do that, so that when it's hanging down like this, the lines are running, you
Right.
know, that way, I had to do it that way. And so it turned out really nice.
It is nice, and then it makes for long rows. I have knit scarves like this, and you, especially your first row, with crochet a little bit, the first chain, sometimes it widens just a little bit on the second row. But that way you get to figure out, okay,
Exactly.
it's 5 feet, it's 6 feet, it's however many feet. This is a long row, but then when you only have, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 15 rows, then you can do it.
Right.
And then it's really nice on the edge. You mimicked your fringe, having that hang down there. Do you use your ends when you do the fringe?
A little bit, yes.
That's a nice
I
way.
usually do some fill-ins too, because it's not quite thick enough otherwise.
That's very nice. Well, let's take a look at some of these other things that you have made for the women in your life. This one you made your wife, Sandy. We'll take a close-up of that.
This is a set of mittens that I've made for her.
You can tell they've been used and loved. Nothing makes a
And
crocheter
then
or a knitter happier
this
than that.
is
What is it
a
called?
scarf
It's like a
hat
it's
type
not a
that
snood.
is
I don't know.
made, and I put a little bit of a ripple around that too.
So you make a flat scarf and then you seam just
Correct.
a wee bit, maybe 6 inches, 7,
Correct.
and you even put a little bit of a
Right,
hem
and if
there.
you look at it underneath, it's all there.
You pulled it through and just...
I pulled it
Yeah.
through.
Otherwise, you get a pointy pixie
Right,
hat,
and you don't want that, so,
depending on your age.
right.
And
I
then,
kind of learned that doing this part when and I haven't told you I used to do this too, I used to make slippers.
oh, crochet
And so
slippers,
you kind of do,
like the heel.
yeah, but not like that, exactly.
No, you don't leave
You
the
don't
same
leave
thing
the
inside.
but,
Right. But this is really sweet. You've tacked this down so it can't flip forward.
right,
And then you added the same yarn,
right,
so it's not overly frilly, but it is just a little bit feminine to have that shell stitch through there. Does she wear this all the time?
She does wear it quite a bit.
And you put the same shell stitch
Right.
at the bottom. It's very
Correct.
nice. And then these, you free-handed these? You didn't have a pattern?
No, I don't go by patterns at all.
Do you ever use a stitch dictionary?
I just,
Do you know how to read the written directions? Because you would really like some stitch dictionaries for those last 2 Afghans for your grandsons. So here, I'm going to go ahead and put it in. So you left that open and then you picked it up. No, you did that lengthwise too. It's very interesting.
yeah. And I put the little bit of edging on that too. Like I
Match
did.
set.
So.
Very nice. And then did you make this green hat for Sandy as well?
No, I made that actually for our
For your-
oldest daughter when she was in high school. She wanted a green and black, and she wanted a beret. So I thought, a beret. Now I've made stocking caps before, but I've never made a beret. So I just
Do you remember?
I play a lot when I'm trial and error, and sometimes I'll crochet a while and I don't like it, so I'll
Rip.
rip it all out again and go from there. So
Do you remember what was going through your mind when you made this?
just that was for my daughter, and she wanted it, and Daddy was going to make it for her.
That's very sweet. So you held together 2 strands, right? Looks like it's
I don't actually remember, to tell you the truth.
it looks like you had a,
Yeah,
black
it probably
and a green.
was. It probably was. Yeah,
Yeah,
I think I
because
did.
you're edging.
Yes, I did.
and then you increased, you made the band to fit out of single crochet, so it's nice and tight. Single crochet is going to be the tightest. And then it looks like you used
I think
double?
it's double crochet.
double crochet and then increased, because that's the thing with berets, is that they get wider and then decrease back down. I know when I've knitted them and I block them, we get them wet and make the take its shape, I will block it over a dinner plate. You just put the whole thing over a dinner plate.
Okay.
And that stretches it out just right. And then decrease, 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 decrease down to nothing.
Right.
And this is the most beautiful little pom-pom that he handmade. Did you make your own template with the cardboard, or did you get a little?
I just kept wrapping around cardboard, and then
So tight.
you know, I cut it and tied it, and then I took the scissors and started whacking away till I got it to where I wanted it.
Yeah, they start much larger, don't they? But I always have the hardest time making sure that it's really tight
Yeah.
when I sew it on. And then it has this matching. This is always the hardest thing for a knitter or a crocheter, to bring in things to show on the show, because you give them all away. So that's so nice that you had this ability to bring this in and share this. I'm sure that meant a lot to her. Can't imagine if my dad were to ever do something like that.
Yeah. This was the first thing that I had made for her when she was younger, a little
Aww,
stocking cap, and
that's adorable.
she can see that pom-pom wasn't the greatest. Not as good as this one.
You know,
so it's like anything, with time you get better.
I look forward to getting better on my pom-poms. The thing is, though, too, sometimes a few of the pieces can get pulled out, and that makes it
Yeah.
not as full. But there's lots of different kinds. And that's lovely. And you did it lengthwise, too, instead of... That maybe makes it a little bit more flexible around the head. That's lovely. And I think the last piece that we have to show is from the same yarn, and it's a ripple stitch Afghan
Right.
lap quilt. So Jim was saying earlier that this is made out of a yellow strip, a green strip, blue strip, green strip, yellow strip, and then 1, 2, 3 rows of the rainbow. It's the same rainbow yarn that he used, of the variegated. And a different kind of ripple stitch. I haven't done this one before. Looks like you're going straight across, and you do a double crochet, chain
And I
1 or
think
2, and do another double
correct.
crochet, and you keep going
Just
across.
Mm-hmm.
It's pretty. It makes it have a little bit of air, can get through it a little bit, and looks like it's been...
Actually, I had made this for her twin bed.
Oh my goodness.
So.
That's wonderful. Well, I appreciate you coming in and sharing your talent with us, and letting us know that a guy can do textiles and that a woman should teach her children how to be able to handle
Correct.
multiple things. And I appreciate you being a Renaissance man
You're welcome.
and taking care of yourself,
Thank you.
and starting that group about helping people take care of themselves. It's wonderful. It's
Thank you.
doing many things with the talents God has given you.
Amen.
Well, thanks for coming in, Jim, and thank you for joining us again on In the Loop with Laura.